Hi, I'm Deb Wythe. I'm a member of the program committee, and I'm your chair for this, but I think Jeff is going to just take it away. Jeff Williams is Associate Director of Technology at UCLA's Hammer Museum. Looking at his bio, we can see that he comes from the moon and beyond to the small world of the museum. He used to work at NASA. So he's been in the museum field for 2 years. And has done a big project that he was challenged to do with a budget of $25,000, which is familiar to us in the museum world. It's like, oh yeah, we need to do all of this stuff. Do it with no money or minimal money. So we'll see how he did that. And one of the things he said to me when we were emailing was that he wished he had seen this presentation before he started the project. So you're going to hear everything that he learned during the project. So over to you, Jeff.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out on the last day during the snow. But hopefully you guys can take away something of this. If you have any questions, I'm going to try to get through this pretty quick so you can ask questions at the end. But if anything, like you just really want to shout out, do. That's fine. So I work at the Hammer Museum in UCLA. It's a contemporary art center and museum located in Los Angeles. The courtyard is a gathering place for local office workers and students. We've got 5 collections, including paintings, sculptures, prints, drawings, and photographs from the Renaissance to the present. And our focus is on exhibitions of local and emerging artists, and we're known for our biennial Made in LA. We are free. It seems like that's great, right? Everyone come hang out. We're free. The Hammer views itself as a fast-paced organization, and we do a lot. So there's been a lot of growth and change over the past 5 years. We've got 6 galleries and approximately 20 exhibitions per year. We do 3 performance spaces and about 200 programs a year, including 100 of which are live-streamed online. 24% increase in annual total expenses over the past 4 years. And there's been a focus on the programming and not the technology. And I think that's makes sense. It's an art museum. Let's not focus on the technology. Let's focus on the programming and the fundraising. But at sometimes you need to make sure you got things up and running and kind of upgraded and you have a plan. One example of this is like in 2016, we were running Exchange 2003 on a server purchase in 2008 that had not been under warranty since 2013. So that's a lot of numbers there, but it's kind of turns out to be not a very good situation. Technology catch-up, the 3-year plan. When I first started, and I started in the end of 2015, I kind of was approaching it with like a 3-year plan, trying to get the house in order. Year 1 being evaluate and learn, year 2 being in plan, and year 3 being implement. Now, the evaluate and learn is something that everyone's got to do when they're new in a new environment. Some of the questions I found myself asking pretty quickly is, why do we host our own email on sites? Why was everybody afraid of the cloud? Why didn't we utilize UCLA's IT services like email and internet service providers? Why did we have an unused SAN while we're out of storage? Why did we use Hyper-V instead of VMware? And where were the backups? This is the Hammer Museum's cloud approach circa 2016. Also known as fear of the unknown. Museum's administration was afraid of storing data offsite on somebody else's data center, but most of the folks there were the most fearful, didn't know what the cloud was, which is understandable to fear the unknown. It was my job to help explain the cloud and help people get okay with the idea of the cloud. In late 2015, Hammer Museum was using 0 cloud services, and that's 2015. So things got interrupted. Towards the end of year 1, the evaluate turned into stay afloat, aka keep all production systems up during business hours. That's just IT 101, I know, but sometimes that's harder said than done. There were 3 incidents resulting in outages during the core hours of 9:30 to 6:30 when all staff is there. In July 2016, we had a ransomware infection. We also had a power outage in the server room that caused all of our servers to go offline in the middle of the day. That's not a good sign. Virtualization reliability issues, we're using Hyper-V, which typically is fairly robust, but we were having lots of issues with our virtual machines becoming corrupted, and we had 4 VMs get corrupted in over a 3-month period. And the result was the staff was becoming increasingly impacted by outages, unable to do their job. Basically, the natives were getting restless, which in IT, that's what you want to be unnoticed. People just assume all of these systems work. So the challenge, now this came about one afternoon, the CFO pulled me aside and basically kind of getting a little bit restless about all this, kind of said, how fast can we solve this reliability problem and how much would it cost? If I was to give you $25,000, could you solve this reliability quickly? That was my answer. The CFO he's a wonderful guy, comes from the film industry. His focus is not on whiz-bang technology. I forgot a word. It changes the meaning of that sentence a little bit. But the CFO does care about who can do it, how long it will take, and how much it'll cost. A couple major takeaways, and I think this one kind of applies to everybody. Always have a big picture idea ready and know how much it'll cost, how long it will take to implement, and who will do it. Now, this will take time and thought, and managers should probably have more than one of these in their back pockets. But when you're, quote unquote, in the shit, it's hard to take a step back and spend the time developing these ideas and plans. So some root cause analysis. So before I discuss my proposed solution, which has been spoiled by the title of the presentation, let's discuss the root cause of the problem. Basically, the previous administration and IT department is more focused on saving money than updating the technology infrastructure. Now, like I said before, the admin in the art museum shouldn't be focused on obtaining tech infrastructure. They're typically got attention on their exhibitions and fundraising. But the IT department can't let senior leadership forget about IT. And that we need to remind them that IT infrastructure needs attention every year to prevent us from getting in a situation like this. We were using Hyper-V because it was free. That was the reason why we selected it. None of the servers that we had under warranty, that we were using, were under warranty. They were all bid from purchase using the lowest bidder. And these authorized resellers that had promised a lifetime warranty had since gone out of business. And there's been a lot of growth, and they haven't really changed any of the infrastructure. So I like to say we were doing more with the same. So this is the Hammer Museum's computer network application stack. This is something, these are kind of just a representation of the systems that I manage and kind of keep up running on a day-to-day basis. These are the systems that staff assume just work. You've got really basic stuff like email, and then you see a lot of stuff that's more sector-focused, like the financial system, donor management system, ticketing system. And yes, I know we could probably just upgrade to Tessitura and replace 5 of these into one. And I would love to. Baby steps. But I think this is kind of a good list of things that are required just for the day-to-day operations. Some of the things that also here I don't hear a lot discussed is the third one from the bottom is iTrack, which is our security incident tracking system, and that's actually used by our security department. And then, now notice that there are Square and Shopify. These have actually been implemented since the initial 2015 when I started, when there was nothing in the cloud. So the solution, and what is it? It's leveraging the cloud. So hosted email in the cloud, this is a no-brainer in 2016, 2017, 2012 maybe. Today there are currently lots of options, Office 365, Gmail, hosted Exchange. That's an easy one. The rest of it, which is stabilizing the rest of the environment, which is a lot of the stack that we're talking about here, like that first, the rest of those is a little bit more complicated. Like the Blackbaud stuff, we've got, SQL servers, we've got application servers for each of those. TMS, that's an application in a SQL server. So you've got lots of different virtual machines here. But let's just migrate them to a dedicated cloud. And this was one way that I kind of helped get through the cloud fear. I actually started calling it the cloud just somebody else's server. I think that, or somebody else's data center. I think that helped them realize that it's not this mystery. It is actually in a data center managed by a giant team of engineers, a lot more, have a lot more skill and experience than the Hammer team. So we were going to then connect, so we then have two firewalls, one on-prem, one in the cloud, connect via IPsec VPN tunnel to kind of, we don't really want to interrupt any of our business workflows as little as we can. We spec'd out two high-powered servers to act as a virtual host on all the important Hyper-V VMs, and spec'd out also a SAN with 70 terabytes of storage. That's basically kind of our current environment scaled up a little bit. So why I selected the solution, like I said, the email in the cloud at this point, that is the most critical system in a museum and probably at most businesses. That's communication. That's with staff. That's with external people. You really need 100% uptime, or at least as many nines as you can get. We didn't have the resources to hire an Exchange admin. You go in the cloud, their main job is to administer that. It's no longer best practice to host that yourself, especially if you're a small or mid-sized organization of only 200 mailboxes like the Hammer. And in the case of a disaster in LA, that seems like the big one's always about to hit. Email needs to stay up and running, especially during the disasters. I was in Houston, not during the recent hurricane, but during a hurricane, and the office building I was in lost power for 2 weeks, and if we weren't in the cloud for email, we wouldn't have been able to communicate with staff. And that's very important, especially during a disaster. So to migrate to a dedicated cloud solution, AKA servers in somebody else's data center, if we do this, we physically get off of all of our old and unreliable, unwarranted equipment. They have monitor and maintenance done by a third party, which helps us keep the IT department small, which is great for the budget. My IT department is currently 2 people. The max I think it will ever be is 3 people. And we have a lot of work to do already, so having someone else that can focus on that monitoring and maintenance would be great. We no longer have our own equipment. Equipment's leased and easy to predict the budget from, because it's basically a bill of monthly rates. So the solution, these are the answers that the CFO will ask, because I still haven't even told him what I want to do yet. This has all happened after that meeting where he made that challenge. I said, then I went home, then I tried to figure things out, then I tried to make phone calls, and by the end of the day, the next day, I had this plan that I proposed to him. So who can do it? So I've leaned heavily on vendors for this. And we used Rackspace as our cloud provider. One of the reasons why is they help you provision, they help you move, they want you there. It's a month-to-month service contract. So the sooner you're there, the sooner they start making money. And they know that it's a lot easier to move there than it is to move off. And I know that too. But I'm okay with that. So Rackspace to help us provision the new dedicating hosting environment and stuff that was beyond the scope. They also they have a professional services department that allows you to do migration, or that helps you with the migration as well. The quote on moving all of these servers up there, I think it was about 10K on that. So how long will it take? We did the cloud-hosted email in a month. That was actually quite simple, quite straightforward. The provisioning and configuration of the dedicated hosting environment took about a month, and then the migration of existing VMs to dedicated hosting environment was planned at about 2 months. And how much will it cost? And these are kind of the annual recurring costs. The Microsoft Exchange server hosted was $8 per user per month, which is about $14K annually, and the 20K turns into 54K. So basically, my initial conversation in Rackspace is yeah, we can set up your environment, it'll cost 20 grand, right? Okay, that's within the budget. But then quickly it turns into once you get handed off of the first level of sales into actual real sales, you realize that your environment's now $54,000 annually. And then after a lot of negotiations and compromises, we get down to $30,000 annually, all of which is way above the challenged amount. But I'm still pushing forward. The CFO was actually okay with $30K annually, and there's some flexibility. He just wants things working. Then there's the skeptics. These are the people that fear the cloud. And I love these people. They help me keep grounded. They help me have backup plans. This is my direct boss. Okay. So what if it doesn't work? The backup solution, the backup solution is the status quo. Buy another server, set up a more reliable server under warranty environment, and manage it with existing staff. And then also, like, what if, like, can we get out of the contract if it doesn't work? And the answer was yes. We just had to ask. We got a free 90-day trial period. And I always, if you're ever unsure of something working with the vendor, ask if you can try it before you can use it. So then we went into the pedal to the metal phase. It was actually pretty low risk because all of our systems were up and running. It's more of like a hauling butt, but not likely to crash and burn. This is one of my favorite ads from the 80s. Second main bullet point, don't be afraid to fail. I think this is discussed today or on Tuesday at the Ignite talks. I like to say though, and if you do fail, find out what's causing the failure and stop doing that. So how many users here use Blackbaud products, RE and FE? Anybody? We got one? Okay, two. And the next question is do you guys know, does RE and FE perform well over VPN? Exactly. That's what's, just that piece of information alone is led to this revise. I mean, we did tons of different cycles in this. Hosting the email, no problem. But, we started having a compromise, and all of a sudden, like, our financial system couldn't be on the cloud. And so kind of the wheels came off, and, well, Rackspace Dedicated Cloud Solution contract was canceled. So, but where are we today? I like to say we're barely utilizing the cloud, but moving toward a goal to use more hosted solutions. Emails hasn't gone down since we migrated in February of 2017. We ended up buying 2 on-premise high-powered servers to act as our virtual host for VMware. We actually used some of the money that we didn't spend on this to upgrade our license and do V2V and get everything in VMware, which is a much more stable environment. We've been live with that since July and haven't had a single outage. And then all PCI compliant systems offsite, cloud service providers provided by third-party vendors. Going back to this initial kind of stack that I talked about, this is kind of where we're at today and kind of where we're planning. We've got email in the cloud now. Those 3 Blackbaud products, one of them is end of life. That's Patron's Edge. The other 2, they've got new products out which we're planning to move to, and that will put our data in the cloud, which will really help with access. And then a lot of the other ones are still going to stay on-site or a hybrid, but the goal is we know now kind of what it takes, and rather than just trying to move your existing VMs to the cloud, rather trying to switch to systems that are based off and cloud-based. Love the cloud. This is our current Hammer IT approach. It's actually kind of more just like acceptance of the cloud, but at least it's not pouring down rain. So did I meet the challenge? Kinda. I was super bummed we couldn't use the cloud more, at least right now, but I'm working on that next big picture idea, and this time I'll be ready. Any questions? Kind of flew through those last ones. Yes? So yeah, so with NetX and with a lot of solutions, they can be on-site or off-site. I think the licensing model might change depending on if it's asset-based or whether it's like how much space your assets take up. We had initially implemented NetX on-sites. We've since increased it so we have an unlimited number of assets. There's not really a need for us to move it off-site right now. It's only accessible by staff from on-site, and we do have VPN allowing users to connect to it remotely. Well, they don't use that. That's only when they're like working from home. That's a small fraction of the time. Yeah, like maybe like 5% of the time. It makes it hard when we're trying to share images with other people because we actually have to export them, send them so it's not as graceful as it could be. But yeah.
You use a dedicated cloud solution? Have you considered using Azure or Amazon?
Yeah, we tried with Azure. So the main thing was really latency between our data centers, between LA and Chicago. That was kind of like the underlying issue. We tried Azure because they had a data center in San Francisco, and that latency was greatly reduced. But on the Blackbaud products, it didn't matter. Mm-hmm. You can be a second just down the streets with minimal latency, and it's just not designed to work over VPN. I mean, that's the bottom line with the Blackbaud stuff.
Solutions not work over remote desktop?
We could have gone with a remote desktop solution, but I don't want my staff like to go to work, log into their computer, open up, remote desktop to connect to a server, especially when a lot of the assets that it just was getting convoluted, and the amount of button clicks and the efficiency would go way down. Yeah.
Did the variability of the cost of Azure and Amazon also scare you?
Not so much. I mean, the initial move everything to the cloud, we have so much data, and most of it's images. That's got like 50 terabytes. Moving everything to the cloud really didn't work. So if we're just talking about moving kind of some of the smaller systems, the core business operations ones, the cost got pretty low at that point, because not a lot of those systems store, other than say NetX, not a lot of your financial system, the database is fairly small. It's like the server is pretty small. Like you have a server with 500 gigs, and you're pretty good, and you don't even need that much compute. So you can get those kind of one-off in the cloud pretty easily, and it's not that expensive. But it wasn't really the cost. It was really the performance, which just wasn't there. Any other questions? Yes.
So you have the 3 Blackbaud products.
Yeah.
And one of them is nearing the end. Are you looking to replace all 3 at once?
Yeah, we've got an immediate need to get off Patron's Edge, and then we also have a 18 to 24-month plan to kind of revisit all of those and figure out we've only been using them for 3 years, and that will give us a 5-year return on investment on that. It's just too soon to kind of switch right now. So we have to find a stopgap solution and then work on something with the next 2 years or so. But yeah, it's by then it'll be 2019, and there should be APIs across all of these things, and they should all be able to talk, which was promised when we implemented Blackbaud 3 years ago, but it just hasn't worked out. So, any other questions? I'll be around if you have anything. Come and talk to me. Thanks, guys.